So for the 954sports.com high school football game of the week in week 11, it was on to Parkland. That's where my travels brought me last night, to the beautiful campus of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School and Cumber Stadium. I'm Matt Levine. Welcome to the 954sports.com YouTube channel. Please go ahead, subscribe. 954sports.com also looking for interns. If interested, inquire within by sending me an email. That's easy to do. Grab your pen. You still use a pencil, some paper. Ready? It's matt@954sports.com. Thank you. While I'm busy shouting out those thanks, I want to thank the athletic director, Al Guzzo, at Stoneman Douglas High School, his staff, and the entire Eagles Nation for making yours truly at 954sports.com feel welcome last night. A pleasure to cover the game between the visiting Colonels of Plantation High School and those hometown Eagles of Stoneman Douglas. So let's talk about the game last night, the season finale. It had all the trimmings, the makings of what could be a heavyweight bout. Both teams in their respective classes had punched their tickets to the playoffs in Class 7A. The 7-1 Plantation Colonels, averaging about 45 points a game, primed and ready for the postseason. Championship contenders, they've earned the right to be discussed as one. So has Stoneman Douglas with an epic season in 8A. They're headed to the playoffs. With a win last night, they could have made some history, becoming the first undefeated 9-0 squad in school history. They've already reached the playoffs for the first time in a dozen years. First-year head coach Quentin Short working wonders. They also accomplished their first district championship in almost 2 decades, going back to 2001. So without further ado, let's show you the video highlights. And of course, here on 954sports.com, I talk about pageantry week in and week out. No shortage of that going on last night at Cumber Stadium. High school football. Friday Night Lights, alive and well, as you see it from the pregame festivities into the action on the field. And like most heavyweight bouts, the opponents usually feel each other out, sometimes for a couple rounds, throw some body blows, then someone lands a punch. And that was the case last night. Stoneman Douglas delivers the first punch. Took about 3 minutes into the game when they capped off a nicely executed drive. 8 plays, 71 yards. Thanks to Matt O'Dowd, able to find Christian Higgins. Point after attempt by Matt Hall was good. So the Eagles took a 7-0 lead. And I'll tell you one thing. I've seen enough football over the years on all levels, of course the high school level included, where sometimes it's not offense, not defense, but special teams that will get a team going. With their backs against the wall, Plantation down 7-0. Couple minutes into the second quarter, they came alive. Thanks to Roshane Stevens. Blocks Hall's 23-yard field goal attempt. Colonels would have the football and they would make the most of it. This is Xavier Bolden, who had a humongous night on the gridiron. Over 160 yards from scrimmage, a big chunk of it right here. 60-yard touchdown run to pay dirt unscathed. Point after by Jacoby George was no good. We'll talk more about him in a moment. That would make the score 7-6. And wouldn't you know it, I've seen enough football to know this. Once the special teams gets going, the offense will feed off that. And great football teams, the defense will then feed off of that momentum. It's contagious. This is Travis Samuels with the big sack. And Bolden would simply show what he can do on the receiving end of a pass. Gerard Nesbitt has had a great senior season, and he had another tremendous football game last night at quarterback for the Colonels. Finds Bolden in the flats. He would race 62 yards for the score, make it 12-7 with just under 4 minutes left in the first half. And it was time for a little bit more defense. And this is Relique Grange with the pick on O'Dowd. An interception, a turnover, gets you a nice honor at either school. It's called the turnover chain. Mr. Grange, celebrate your efforts in style. And they would capitalize. This is Shaheem Taylor plunging it in for 6. That would increase the lead to the halftime score, 19-7. So as we head into intermission, I was certainly wondering, could the Eagles come back? I was also wondering just how good the halftime show would be. There were a few hints. There's a huge production truck in one corner of the end zone with all the equipment and the materials that the color guard and the band and the entire crew would need for what seemed like an elaborate halftime show. And that's what you got. What a tremendous halftime show. Hats off to everyone involved at Stoneman Douglas. You know, for as hard as these two teams work, told you all about them, showed you the first half of highlights. So does the band and the crew, the color guard, everyone involved. Band leaders, you can see that they work it to practice to perfection. So without further ado, I saw the halftime show last night. Let me share a glimpse with you. And without further ado, it's time to strike up that Stoneman Douglas band. Just fabulous. What a great job again to the band. Hats off to you. Tremendous, tremendous halftime show. Was wondering which team would put on a show in the second half again, if not both of them. And you would see if the momentum would continue for Plantation. They would get the ensuing kickoff. And on the first play from scrimmage, that question was answered thanks to Jacoby George. Heads into the old land of 6. A track star with a football in his hand. He's a football star. Committed to the University of Miami to play for the Hurricanes. And you can see with the talent there why he'll be at the next level. 70 yards on the score. 25-6. Defense, again, feeding off the offensive play. They step it up big in the second half. Roshane Stevens. A little introduction to A.J. Sasser, the running back for Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And that's in football how you say, from a defender to an offensive player, how do you do? Nice play. Nesbitt back up to his old tricks. Senior quarterback on the night. 17-24, 301 yards. That's a great fantasy football day. This is reality. To Devin Howard, one of his 3 touchdown passes. 24 yards out. Celebration time for Plantation. Looking good. As they would go up 32-7. Matt Hall would kick a field goal in between this touchdown, that touchdown I showed you from 41 yards out, and this one I'm going to show you here to give Stoneman Douglas 10 points. Make it 32-10. And then Nesbitt caps it off. Final score of the night. 41 yards to George with about 4 minutes left. George showing the versatility again. Nesbitt putting the finishing touches on. A great night for Plantation High School. There you see it, 39-10. Again, it's a final. Both teams now with the same mark, 8-1. And again, it's off to the second season of the playoffs, do or die from here on out. You can bet both teams are going to be ready to make a run. I caught up with the coaches after this contest. And the first coach that I was able to interview is longtime Plantation coach Steve Davis. Had a chance to speak with him about a couple of things, including his Colonels coming alive in the second quarter against a very formidable opponent in those Eagles of Stoneman Douglas.
First quarter they came out and they kind of knocked us off balance a little bit, and we had to recover. And I told our kids that it would take us getting back under control, playing our style of game, and we were able to start doing that in the second quarter.
Also had a chance to talk with Coach Davis about his team being fired up as they gear up for the playoffs. Let's take a look and listen.
Our kids are hungry, and I think we play Hialeah next week. We'll be back in the school tomorrow watching film and getting ready for cleaning this game up and then getting ready for next week, our playoff opponent.
And there you have from Plantation's coach, Steve Davis. Good guy there. Also had a chance last night for the first time to meet Quentin Short. Talked about him. A gentleman in his own right. Pleasure meeting him and having a chance to speak with him about the game following the difficult loss for his Eagles squad against those Colonels. However, maintaining nothing but a great attitude as they get ready for the playoffs and ready to rock and roll into that second season. Here's Coach Short.
It was a great game for us. This is the best team we've played all year, and this is playoff caliber football, and that's what we needed to see. All right, we're going to go in and fix our mistakes and come back next week and get ready to play in the first round.
And thank you, Coach Short, for the interview. And I certainly wish his squad the best of luck in the playoffs, as I do with Plantation High School. It should be a lot of fun in South Florida. A bunch of teams are going to be in the mix for a run to glory. And we'll certainly be covering the playoffs here on 954sports.com. Stay tuned. See how things shake out. Tomorrow morning, Sunday, they'll start rolling out the playoff matchups throughout the day. Take a look and see what makes sense to go cover. And we'll do it right here on 954sports.com as we get ready for the playoffs. I'm Matt Levine saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Happy Halloween. Well, that's in the books. I guess when Halloween ends, you just now say happy holidays, right? We'll catch you next week with the high school football game of the week, playoff style, right here on 954sports.com.